Thank you, Jayola Williams and Marcy. Miss Marcy. Yeah. God, we go back so many years. I don't even know how many. A lot. Thank you. Thank you. So, it is a tradition and New Thought for the month of January to go back to basics. So that's what we started doing last week, actually. And to review, to reground ourselves in these spiritual tenets that we hopefully live our lives from. At least when we remember, we pay attention and we remember in our own unique way. And that is because each week we are going to deepen into these spiritual teachings, and we're also going to approach them with fresh eyes. So I'm going to introduce like something newer to also complement our New Thought teachings. And today we combined our fundamental belief in the workings of the law of God with the modern work of author and journalist Pam Grout, maybe you've heard of her, in her book E Squared, to bring a fresh new approach and look to, as well as an experiment that we're going to be doing, and it really works, because I'll tell you. All right, later. The way God's law works, as we saw in that creative process that Elaine so beautifully showed us, how the thought goes into the law, becomes the thing itself, becomes the experience, good, bad, or indifferent. So, and we're going to take a look at that. How, anyway, I get ahead of myself because I'm so excited. I'm really excited about these spiritual teachings, and that's why I know they're true, because I never get tired of them. Yes. They're always fresh. They're always exciting, and they work. They really work when we consciously work them. So let's begin with the words from Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind textbook. And this, if you're looking, is on page 38. Where he said, we are thinking, willing, knowing, conscious centers of life, with a capital L, of life. And there really is one life, as Carol Mayo just read to us. There is one life. That's God's life. That's my life. That's your life. Right here, right now. There's not God and. There is God as. God as Margaret. God as Jolene. God as each and every one here. That's the basis of all healing for us, is just remembering that we're not really separate at all. We perceive and think we are, but we are not. We're all part of this oneness. We are surrounded by, it's going to continue from Ernest Holmes, we are surrounded by, immersed in, and there is flowing through us a creative something, that's Ernest Holmes, a creative something, we call it the law. The sum total of our thoughts, will, purpose, and belief create a tendency in this law that cause it to react to us. This is why Jesus summed up the whole philosophy in a simple statement. It is done unto you as you believe. Yes. If that's what we take with us, that and the Father and I are one. Mm-hmm. It is done unto you as you believe. That belief part being key. So I want to back up and let you know that this concept of oneness, of unity, did not begin with Holmes. It did not begin with the master teacher, Jesus. And New Thought, which is the umbrella spiritual system under which religious science falls, there's unity, there's Christian Science, there are all of these. It's recognized as a world religion now, New Thought, or religious science, which is what this is a part of this New Thought. But the thing is often called, and it is, ancient wisdom. Ancient wisdom. And here's a random sampling of the ancient writings on this topic. In Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 7, written mostly by Solomon during his reign, 970 to 930 BC, we read, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Okay? In the first two verses of the Dhammapada, written in the 6th century BC, the Buddha said, all that we are is a result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him, as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him, like a shadow that never leaves him.
Yes.
That's from the Buddha. Aristotle, 300 BC. What we expect, we find. What are you expecting in your life? You might think, yeah, I'm expecting this, but what is your thinking expecting? Yeah, we're going to get underneath that underbelly. Yes, we're going to go to the reality of spirituality. That is thank you, Brenda. Tell your husband again, I thank him for that. That is my theme for the year, if not forever. The reality of spirituality. Let's make it real. Let's keep it real. Let's make it real. We don't have to make it real. It is real. But let's just experience it in the reality that it is, and the spirituality, adding that part to it. The great Roman poet Virgil, 50 BC, they can because they think they can. And then we move to Jesus' time in Matthew chapter 9, verse 29. And this is written, so it says here, 80 to 90 AD. And he said, according to your faith will it be done unto you. And in Mark 11:24, Jesus said, therefore I say unto you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them. Does that sound familiar? It's what all of the new authors are writing. It's what The Secret was about. And here we're going back, way back, ancient wisdom. So there must be something to this idea that thoughts are things, that we are creative beings. As we believe, so it is. A thought placed into the law becomes the experience. It might not look the way you thought it was going to look. You have an idea, you have a vision, and behind that vision, behind that idea, there is a feeling state. And it's what it is that you want to feel. You know, it could look like a relationship, but what is it you really want to feel in that relationship? Not all these different, which is good, different qualities and all of that stuff, but what do you really want to feel in a job, in anything? What is it that you want to create? And then look at that and keep your mind trained on that whole thought process, because it will tend to stray at times, at least mine does. But because of the impartial, impersonal law, our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, actions, and words have tremendous power. Just redoing this whole talk last night and today really has great power for me to pay attention to what I'm saying. Pay attention, really pay attention to what I'm thinking. I know what I want, but is it in alignment with what I'm feeling and what I'm speaking? Just how much power do we have? We have so much power that we create our lives. If you don't believe that, then that's up to you. But I want to tell you, it doesn't look like we created certain circumstances and experiences in our lives. But maybe we needed that universal 2x4 to get us to move into the direction that we truly wanted to move into. And we just were not, we knew what we want. We know what we want. But then all of our actions and all of our feelings are in reverse to that. So the law is going to pick up on all of it, and it's going to give us back what we want. And if we are looking for peace and we're looking for integrity in a relationship, and we're really holding on to that, we don't know how it's going to happen. We never know how the law is going to work. We don't know. what's gonna be presented in our experiences, but it will get us to move if we are open and if we are aware consciously. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I could go on and on with that, but I want to read you the story. Okay, this is going to illustrate what I am speaking of. This is a story about 11-year-old Angela, who was stricken with a debilitating disease involving her nervous system. She was unable to walk, and her movement was restricted in other ways as well. The doctors did not hold out much hope of her ever recovering from her illness. They predicted she'd spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. They said that few, if any, were ever able to walk again after contacting this kind of disease. The little girl was undaunted. There, lying in her hospital bed, she vowed to anyone who'd listen that she was definitely going to be walking again someday. She was transferred to a specialized rehabilitation hospital in the San Francisco Bay Area, and whatever therapies could be applied to her case were used. The therapists were charmed by her undefeatable spirit, and they taught her about imaging, about seeing herself walking. They thought if it would do nothing else, it would at least give her hope and something positive to do in the long waking hours of lying in her bed. Angela would work as hard as possible in physical therapy, in the whirlpools, and in her exercise sessions. But she worked also just as hard in her bed, faithfully doing her imaging, visualization itself, moving her, moving. She kept visualizing, moving. Then one day, as she was putting every ounce of concentration and energy into imaging her legs moving again, a miracle happened. Her legs didn't move, but the bed did. In fact, it began to move around the room, and she screamed out, "Look what I'm doing. Look, I can do it. I can move. I moved." Now, it seemed at that very moment, everything else in the room was moving as well, and people were screaming and running, and things were breaking all around the room. And you could see it was an earthquake, yeah. But don't tell that to Angela. She's convinced she did it. And only a few years after that incident, she did begin to regain use of both of her legs and walk again. Because anyone who can shake the earth between San Francisco and Oakland, is what she believed, can certainly conquer a silly little disease. And that comes from chicken soup from the soul.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how powerful our thoughts are. It really got me thinking about stuff. Our thoughts are so powerful because they activate the law.
Yes.
They activate this energy field that we can't see. We can't see emotions. We can't see God. We can't see spirit. We can't see any of it. We can't see any of it. But we know if our belief knows. Our belief, we believe it is working. It is done unto you as you believe. That's how it works. So the stronger that knowing, that belief is, the more powerful we manifest what we want to experience in our lives. Don't we want to experience just peace and well-being and wholeness and prosperity? We all want to manifest the same thing. We all want to do that. So let's have some fresh eyes here then and ask a question that we don't always ask. This is where the reality and the spirituality comes in. We don't always ask in New Thought circles. If this is true, why do we struggle so much? Why do things not always turn out the way we intend? This stuff doesn't work. I tried, it didn't work, right? Why does it seem like the law works for us sometimes and not other times? We can often blame ourselves, in fact that we usually do, or we blame other people, which is the same as blaming ourselves. We might say, think, or unconsciously think, I'm not good enough. Works for everyone else because they are better than I am, but not for me. God loves everybody else but me. These are some of the things. Blah, 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 right? Blah, 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 blah. This goes on and on. So can we this morning begin to remove these thoughts from our minds? And those are, because those thoughts are the lies that we have been telling ourselves and then believing. And we talked about this last Sunday when we kicked off the Back to Basics. But just in case that you didn't quite get it, let's actually do something here, something really quick. Take a look and mentally at all your blah, blah, blahs. Get a feel for some of them. Then envision all those blah, blah, blahs in your lap. Now wad them up into a ball. And look up here to the front of the room, to our garbage can, right here. It's a large trash can. And we open up the lid, and I invite you to throw all of your blah, blah, blahs into this garbage can. Everybody got them in? Yeah. Then we bang the lid shut. Bang it shut, and we say, good riddance, gone. Yes. It's one little act, but it's moving us. Yes. It's moving me anyway. Take a breath. Any kind of energy removal that doesn't serve us is so good for us. Now that's gone. Let's look at the fundamental problem, and I love this straightforward answer from this question from E Squared by Pam Grout. She writes this: if you've read The Secret or been in metaphysical spiritual circles for any time at all, you already know that your thoughts create your reality, that there is a power in the universe that can heal, and that you and you alone design your own life. Unfortunately, there's still this tiny problem, this itty-bitty little catch. You don't really believe it. Not fully. You don't really believe it. You ever get that feeling like you know exactly what you want, but then this thing creeps up in you? And it's like doubt. It's doubt. Most of us are like the woman who wished to test the idea of moving the mountains with the faith of a mustard seed, and she spent the whole night sitting up praying and praying for this mountain to move. She worked on her faith. She worked on her prayer. And the next morning she got out and looked out the window, and there the mountain still was, just as she expected it to be. How many times do we do that? Just as we expect, yes?
Margaret, I just saw a movie on Netflix that was called The Little Boy.
The Little Boy.
Yes, and it's about the faith of a mustard seed.
Netflix, The Little Boy. That is our commercial interruption, brought to us by the lovely Rita Biancastino. The Little Boy on Netflix, if you get a chance,
good movie.
Then watch that movie. It's a good movie. I'm hearing good reviews all over. Okay. So we continue then with Grout, and she goes on to write. Most of us, did I finish that? Yeah. Most of us, in fact, are still operating out of the mental architecture of our ancestors. Feel that for a minute?
Yes.
We think, she writes, we're running our lives with our brilliant ideas and thoughts. We think we're reaffirming our intentions and creating new possibilities. But in reality, we're simply recycling old tapes, knee-jerk conditioning, and automatic behaviors, most of which were picked up before we were the age of 5. That little kid is what's running our lives. The ancestral beliefs, all of it, is what's running our lives. We get into that fight or flight mode. It just kicks in. Something takes place and we go right back to that core of absolute fear. And we know there's nowhere to run to. Any of us that might have tried, there is no place to go because you're always there. So you might as well just get real and face it, you know. Most of us are reacting to old ways of thinking and being rather than creators of new experiences. Wow, really new. scary, really new, something you haven't done before. So for us to truly create, we must believe in our desires as already true. It is done unto you as you believe. Ernest, here's E2 Square also, she writes, currently, our minds are devoted to the things we do not want. Listen to this, this is good. Currently, our minds are devoted to the things we do not want. Our positive intentions occupy but a tiny sliver of our minds. The rest is focused on the problems. We hope the intentions will eliminate. The majority of our brain power is devoted to the old belief of scarcity, problem relationships, and a God who shoots bolts from heaven. The reason 99.9% of your mind is still devoted to the things you don't want is because that's the world's default setting, which it defines as normal. Mm-hmm. Isn't that powerful? Mm-hmm. We have been so programmed by this. That fear is so ingrained in us. This is what part of our soul's evolution and journey is about. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. So this morning I want us to move into resetting those default buttons by engaging in an experiment that we're going to talk about at the end of this. But Holmes writes before that. He wrote this, and I love this from him. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. It is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. Right on, right there.
Yeah.
It's easy. Easy to teach it. You can learn it, you can teach it, but then walk out into the world of circumstance and live it. Really, really live it. So we're going to verify in our own lives this by doing a 48-hour experiment, which I have to say this week. Anyway, I have to say I've done it twice. Second time started yesterday. So before launching into this experiment, make an intention to give up past conditioning, to bring fresh eyes to what you are doing. And they can be open and eager to receive evidence. Ready for your assignment?
Yep.
Yeah? Anybody just want to shake it up a little bit? Want to go on a different path? Maybe try a different way if the old way has not been working 100% for you? I don't know if any way works 100%, but I do know having a human experience, I do know that, and sometimes that does not feel good. So, set your intention for, this is the experiment. Set your intention for a blessing or an unexpected gift. Give it 48 hours to appear, okay? A surprise check in the mail, a card from an old friend, something that is truly unexpected. Just set your mind that you expect a blessing in whatever form it comes. Don't specify the blessing, but make a clear intention and a concrete deadline, 48 hours. Now, go ahead and do it, and start it right now, because now is the best time. So expect a blessing. Say this out loud. I set my intention for an unexpected gift or blessing. Yes. And repeat this. And it is so clear. That I can't possibly miss it. How do you feel after proclaiming that?
Pretty cool.
It feels good, doesn't it? It feels good. But sometimes you can feel a little bit antsy too. Wondering if some people have this, if you're being selfish, doubt whether it's appropriate for you to ask for something good. This feeling provides telling insights into your subconscious thinking and conscious thinking. Maybe you believe that you don't expect a gift or a blessing. Time to get rid of that. That thought sends signals to the energy field that we call the law. So you're thinking one thing, and if you're feeling another, that's all going into the law. And you say, I wonder why this keeps happening to me. Check your thinking. Perhaps you think it is only appropriate to ask for something you need. That signal too is being radioed to that energy field. It's being radioed right into it. So do this experiment properly. And to really do it properly, you have to set aside those kinds of ideas and really keep your conscious mind clear. And as it comes up, notice it. But don't ever focus on pushing things away. I know in some new thought circles, it's like, oh, don't say that. That's not very spiritual. Don't feel that. That's not very spiritual. Well, you're saying it and thinking it anyway, so it's taking place. The thing is to not push it away, to embrace it and recognize it, to recognize what it is and knowing that's not the truth of who I am. Then you declare your truth. That's when you do it. Okay. Then I was going to conclude with the Science of Mind reading, which I am going to do, but before I do that, so I did my first 48 hours. I started on Friday, and I was blessed yesterday. I got a blessing, private blessing. And then this morning I woke up, and I got a blessing, because I already set my intention on the blessing. I thought it would be seeing all of these beautiful faces here, filling the room and listening to the music. But then I went to my mailbox here at Starting Point, and here is a check that I received made out to Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. So I would say this is a tangible sign from the universe of a blessing. Because part of that blessing is it could be a check. Unexpected, had no idea this was coming. So I'll be giving this to our treasurer at the end of service, another blessing. So this is how powerful this stuff is. Science of Mind book, textbook, Ernest Holmes wrote, and I want to leave you with this. How much can one demonstrate? Just what one can believe. How much can we see? How much can we accept? How much can we find in our consciousness that it is no longer repudiated by our own denials? Whatever that is, that much we can have. The gardener goes forth in faith to sow his seeds. He has learned that as he sows, so shall he reap, that the law works for all alike. We must accustom ourselves to the concept of the impersonalness of the law, the availability of the law, and the mechanical accuracy of the law. This is the law of God. It's all part of God. God is love and law. If we can, I'm going to go back to Holmes. If we can conceive only a little good, that is as much as we can experience. We must instill into the mind the fundamental proposition that good is without bounds. Take that one in. It's limitless, limitless good. Then knowing that the thing, because we call it the thing itself, that's what that symbol is, and that's us in the middle. But that's the whole creative process. That's our representation, religious science, of God. This is what the universe is, this creative process. And let's get back to Holmes. Then knowing that the thing can work for us, only through us, let us begin to accept today more good than we experienced yesterday, and to know that we shall reap a harvest of fulfilled desires. Let us realize and work with this sound knowledge and perfect faith, that as high as we shall make our mark in mind and spirit, so high shall be its outward manifestation in our material world. How much can we hold? How much good can we hold? Limitless, without bounds. So let us do this experiment then. I invite you to do this experiment for 48 hours, and you can keep on doing it. What it did for me was it really kept me conscious of my thinking. and if I was negating anything, brought it to my attention. Valuable information, folks, very valuable. When it brings it to your attention, you know no belief is operating there. So, this talk for me really was very powerful because it really had me go back within myself and check what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was saying. That is, it was totally an opposite to everything I just spoke about today. So there's only really one thing that can kill our manifestations or hinder them, and that is our doubt. So whenever we have a slight doubt, just remember that is stopping. Well, it's not stopping. It's actually going into the law, because the law is impersonal and is creating more doubt, more confusion, more of not getting what we want in our lives. So that law, that's why I love the law. It's so exciting because we can consciously create what we want and what we don't want. Remember that part. Okay, part 2 is next week, and so it is.